is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Drivers, start your engines. Pull those belts down tight one more time. Warm up those tires. Hit your marks and let's go racing, boys and girls. Nascar, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here is your host, Steve West and Matt Nicholson with producer John Iyer.
Indeed, producer John back in studio, which means, of course, this week we don't have a phone call. So, but if we did, we probably would be able to actually get it on the air. Hey, welcome all in. Appreciate you joining us. Happy Veterans Day to all of our current and former members of any of the military branches. We appreciate you more than we can say on the air. And we're going to begin this week by looking back at the championship weekend in NASCAR, how things went in South America for Formula One. We're going to break down the championship weekend also in the NHRA. We got to look back at the fiasco that was the Craftsman Truck Series title race. We didn't really delve into it all that deeply last weekend. We'll get into it more. Got a long-planned video game that's in some deep trouble. Haas F1 tried a Hail Mary this past week. We'll let you know if it connected. Got a track returning to the schedule in the NHRA, and silly season continues. All that and much more coming up as we get into CRN next.
For more on the Championship Racing Network.
fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back into the show. Getting updated on some things. Our home track for, well, really all three of us, because we've all been out there on numerous occasions, Talladega Superspeedway. They're hosting a Veterans Day event called Track Laps for Charity, but after really about 60 days of having no appreciable rainfall in the state of Alabama,
Guess what?
it decided to
rains.
rain.
Yeah.
So we're understanding that it's going to be, it is going to happen, but it's going to be modified. We're waiting on details of exactly how modified it is going to be.
What they've put on social media already so far is they're going to run it on the apron at a reduced rate of speed.
Okay. So you'll still be able to get out there and kind of experience a little bit of it. Unfortunately, you won't be up on the banking. Sorry about that. And there's also a situation, had the chance to, earlier this week in my other job, had the chance to talk to track president Brian Creighton. The garage experience is going to be open, so if you've never been down in there, you can go down through there and experience that whole area. And they're actually going to be doing some really cool stuff for kind of a Toys for Tots sort of situation. So, yeah, really, really cool stuff going on. So, yeah, if you got the opportunity, starts at 9 a.m. So, yeah, just keep us on your radio and head on over to Talladega Superspeedway. Now, since we talked about the results, again, we'll get into details a little bit later on in the show and going back over the Craftsman Truck Series mess of a title race. But since we talked about the results of it on last weekend's show, we'll begin by talking about the Xfinity Series title race 1 week ago today as we air live out in the southwestern part of the USA. Now, as opposed to the Truck Series race, the 4 drivers in Xfinity Series competition were quite respectful of each other, not getting into each other, and what was a much cleaner race due to that came down to the final laps. A spin late in the race not involving the championship drivers brought out a caution, and after pit stops, the title contenders led the field on to green on a restart. And this is one of those deals where we tend to see the rest of the field respect and not really get in the way of the championship racing drivers and saying, hey, listen, we're going to let you battle that out. We'll be over here battling it out for what we're going to be dealing with, which is the other points and so on and so forth.
Right.
The champion led the field back to green, but fell back as far as third going through the dog leg, and he admitted it wasn't his best restart, but the car began to hook up, and going through turns 1 and 2, he rebounded, got back out front, and from there, it was all Cole Custer. Custer beat non-title contender Sheldon Creed to the line. He had a nice run going after he got things hooked up. Justin Allgaier was third. He just couldn't get the 7 to track right on that final sprint, so he finishes last on that podium finish if they were to do that. Custer's teammate Riley Earps was 4th, Sam Mayer 5th. Josh Berry, Austin Hill, Chandler Smith, Sammy Smith, Kaz Gralla completed your top 10. The 4th title contender, John Hunter Nemechek, got in trouble from basically right off the start, and he never recovered. He finished 28th. Cole Custer wins his first Xfinity Series title. First Xfinity Series title also for Stewart Haas Racing. Justin Allgaier finishes 2nd in final points, Sam Mayer 3rd, and John Hunter Nemechek 4th. Rest of your top 10 in the final standings in order: Austin Hill, Sammy Smith, Sheldon Creed, Daniel Hemrick, Chandler Smith, and Parker Kligerman. It's a nice year for Parker Kligerman, and I'm happy to see it because Parker, to me, is a very underrated driver who he's been waiting for a long time to get this kind of opportunity, and I think he probably could have gotten a little bit more out of it, but truth be told, it was a nice first full-time year back.
Very respectable. That would be the word I would use. Very respectable, and he can keep building on it.
Okay. And I'm sure he will, too. Let's see what else is going on. We all know the whole deal about Sheldon Creed. He's moving over to a different team, and all these players are kind of playing around. We're going to talk about Cole Custer coming up in a little bit as well, because a lot of people kind of thought like Tony Stewart and Stewart Haas Racing kind of did Cole wrong. Tony had a lot to say after the race. We'll talk about it coming up during Xfinity Series News. Sunday, the racing began down in South America with Formula One. Out front, it was, as Aerosmith once said, same old song and dance. Max Verstappen won again for a Formula One record 17th time this season. We'll get more into details on that during Formula One news. But there was drama. First, on the formation lap. Yeah, they hadn't even taken green yet. Formation lap. The hydraulics on the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc failed, and, well, he couldn't go on. So, done. Then, on lap 1,
An aggressive start by the Williams of Alex Albon put him into Kevin Magnussen. That brought out an early red flag. And, by the way, finished the day for both of them. But as the race wore on, Verstappen began to pull away and predictably ended up winning by more than 8 seconds, which actually that's closer than what I would have thought, over Lando Norris. Fernando Alonso third, claiming points for the first time in several races. Sergio Perez, Lance Stroll, Carlos Sainz, Pierre Gasly, Lewis Hamilton with a fairly uncharacteristically bad day. Yuki Tsunoda and Esteban Ocon fill out their top 10. Verstappen's points lead over his teammate, Sergio Perez, is now up to a ridiculous 524 to 258. They've only got 2 more races to go this year. 226 for Lewis Hamilton. Then you got Fernando Alonso, 198. Looking at 195 for Lando Norris, 192 for Carlos Sainz, and Charles Leclerc is in there too in that argument with 170. So from 198, this is really the battle for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. That's still up for grabs. George Russell could, in the last couple of races, maybe make a move, but at 156, he's going to have to impress a lot more than what he has so far this year. Oscar Piastri's had a really nice rookie season. He sits all alone in 9th with 87 points. Now, Lance Stroll could jump up from 10th to 9th and take it. He's got 63. But again, he's going to have to do a little bit more than what we have been seeing out of him so far this year for us to really think that that's a probability. Again, we've got Las Vegas coming up, and then we got Abu Dhabi. And that's it. 2 races. Do it now or don't do it. As far as the Constructors' Cup lead, I keep up with this mainly just because of the fact that it's patently ridiculous.
That's been over with since July.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Constructors' Cup has had Red Bull penciled in basically since, race 2?
Oh, yeah.
And they've been put in with Sharpie indelible marker for half a dozen races now. Their Constructors' Cup lead over Mercedes stands at 782 to 382. In other words, the gap between Mercedes and Red Bull is more than the amount of points that Red Bull has. But don't look now. Ferrari is trying to catch Mercedes. So the battle for second's on. 382 to 362 for Ferrari. McLaren and Aston Martin are battling it out for 4th and 5th. 282 for McLaren, Aston Martin 261. Next up will be Alpine. They're singing Eric Carmen's All By Myself. They're sitting at 108. Williams sits at 28. The suddenly awake and alive AlphaTauri has 21. Alfa Romeo has 16. And Haas F1 is sitting at a lowly 12.
Languishing in 12.
Uh-huh.
Now explain to me how the Constructor Cup points work, please.
It is the combination of the finish of both drivers on your team.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Considering that Max Verstappen's won literally everything on the planet this year, you get 25 points for every time he claims a win, and then you add in whatever his teammate has been able to do, Sergio Perez. And, that's a lot of points.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get back to the United States Southwest for the Cup Series title tilt. It was more like the Xfinity Series race than the Crash Fest of the Craftsman Truck Series race. 3 of the 4 made it to the final lap. The one who didn't was a single car problem in the fact that Christopher Bell blew out a right front brake rotor, which ended his day in stage 2 after just over 100 laps had been run. After that, it was on. Before that happened, for Christopher Bell's situation, on lap 93, the stands began to shake because Kevin Harvick took the lead in a very popular move over then leader William Byron. Now, spoiler alert, the dream of winning his final Cup Series race was not to be as the laps wound down as opposed to the previous decade. The non-title contenders weren't willing to sit off to the side and let the title contenders battle it out. And Harvick was battling inside the top 10 and really top 5 all day. He just wasn't able to claim the win. On the other hand, it was Ross Chastain who worked his way out front late in the day. Even kind of got under Ryan Blaney's skin as he was trying to pass him to take the lead. Chastain didn't race him dirty.
No, not even close.
He would, however, show that he wanted to win the race by taking away Ryan Blaney's line. Now, that's competition. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Okay? Because in the end, I get it. You want to be respectful. You know, I'll put myself in the position of Ross Chastain, and I'll put the resident racing driver here in the position of Ryan Blaney. I want to win the race. I know he's looking for a championship. I've got my crew chief in my ear. I can guarantee you Ross Chastain's crew chief was in his ear. Hey, Blaney's right on your tail, right on your back bumper. Championship leader's right there.
Mm-hmm.
To which I'm probably going to ask what seems to be, to me at least, the obvious next question. Where's the next person in line? I want to know, in other words, whether or not he's being challenged and how close that challenge is. In this case, it would have been, I believe, William Byron.
Correct.
In other words, is William Byron on Ryan Blaney's back bumper? Or is William Byron a second or 2 or 3 seconds behind him? How close is that battle? In this case, William Byron was not close enough to make this situation for Ross Chastain say, you know what, I need to get the heck out of the way and let these two have it out. He sees an opportunity to be able to win a race, smash a watermelon on the front on the start-finish line, and go to victory lane and eat some more watermelon and celebrate with his team, in which he gets a win.
And partake in a beverage of his new sponsor for 2024.
Exactly. And not really affect how the championship battle is going to play out.
Yeah. It didn't. I mean, it was some people being belligerent and overreactive to how racing goes.
I mean, in the end, you want to win the race. I get it. You want to win a title. But if you're not a title contender, next best thing is to win the race, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's a difference between leaning on somebody and racing them clean versus leaning on them and racing them dirty.
Oh, sure.
Because there's an old adage that my mentor, when I was coming up through the ranks, taught me and told me, and it's true to the absolute capitalization and punctuation of the phrase. But capitalization of the words and the punctuation of the phrase. Your rear end will tell you when you get hit if that lick was deliberate or unintentional.
There you go.
It will tell you.
Now, Blaney did show his displeasure. He ran into the back of Chastain. He admitted, yep, I bumped him. I did it on purpose. It resulted, though, in Blaney's crew chief, spotter, and even team owner Roger Penske, and I heard later, even NASCAR, getting on the radio and telling Ryan Blaney, hey, you're in line to win the title. Winning the race is not as important. Settle down.
Yeah.
And it did seem to settle him down. Late race caution brought out a restart with 31 to go. Ross Chastain got back out front. Kyle Larson initially led the title hopefuls, but Ryan Blaney, who fell back as far as 5th initially, battled back to get by both Byron and Larson, did that with 20 laps to go. Larson admitted after the race he just didn't have the car to battle back. Ryan Blaney claims his first Cup Series title, second Cup title in a row for Team Penske. We'll get back into that more. Third overall by finishing... that's easy for me to say. Either way, third overall for Team Penske. Third Cup Series title overall for Team Penske while he finishes second. All of that stuff falls into place because it was the Watermelon Man, Ross Chastain, who got the win. Chastain, Blaney, Kyle Larson is in the top 3, finishes third, trailed by William Byron. Then Chris Buescher, Martin Truex Jr. Kevin Harvick finishes his final Cup Series race in 7th. Popular finish for him. He beats out Denny Hamlin, Michael McDowell, and Bubba Wallace, who finished 10th. Christopher Bell officially finished 36th in a race, truth be told, where not a whole lot of cars fell out.
No.
I mean, Christopher Bell, that was the first car that fell out of the race with that blown brake rotor. So, you know. Blaney wins the title. Kyle Larson officially finishes the final 2023 Cup Series standings in 2nd. William Byron 3rd. Christopher Bell 4th. Denny Hamlin 5th. Tyler Reddick, Chris Buescher, Brad Keselowski, Ross Chastain, Bubba Wallace finish in the final top 10 of the standings. And that brings us to this weekend among the series that we cover. The NHRA got the stage all to itself, and they're running their final event of 2023. It is the In-N-Out Burger. I'm not going to get used to that. In-N-Out Burger NHRA Finals at the In-N-Out Burger Pomona Drag Strip. I mean, great job in getting the sponsor, but it's a little bit of a tongue twister. The finals will air live, not on Fox. Sorry, Straight Line Racer fans. It'll be on Fox Sports 1, the cable channel. 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central Time, and that will decide officially all your 2023 champions. That's the only race, the ones that we cover, that's going on this weekend. We'll talk some Cup Series news next.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. Two tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
We are back. Do want to remind you, number one, happy Veterans Day, especially to all of you who have ever served in whatever branch of the military that you may have served or are currently serving in. We do appreciate your service.
Yep.
Second of all, today is the day where Talladega Superspeedway, our second home, if you will, is supposed to host a Track Laps for Charity situation, but if you're just now joining us, after 2 months of really no appreciable rainfall in and around central Alabama, east central Alabama specifically where the track is located, it rained.
Yep.
So here's the deal. The money still goes to the great cause. Unfortunately, because of the wet conditions out there, you won't be able to take your vehicle up onto the banks. You can still go around the track. You'll be out on the apron. We did find out this. Either that or you could go ahead, buy the ticket now. And again, the money goes to great cause. And you can use it for one of the future Track Laps for Charity events coming up next year.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, there are other things going on. Again, we're going to be in the garage area, and from what I understand, the chance to kind of do some assembly of toys. If you want to bring a toy to donate, feel free to do that as well. So a lot of good stuff going on out there. Everything starts at 9 a.m. So as we are on the air live right now, a little over 30 minutes from this point in time, it'll go on until about, 1 o'clock, maybe a little after this afternoon. So good stuff out there. Hope you have the chance to take part in it. Now, Ryan Blaney's win of the Cup Series title, as we noted, gives actually Roger Penske a first. And if you think about Roger Penske's career in racing, I mean, the man's in his 80s. Anytime you're able to do something that gives him a first in his life, that's saying something. But yep, first back-to-back titles. Last year, Joey Logano won the Cup Series title. This year, it's Ryan Blaney. Now, obviously, he's nowhere near the first to claim back-to-back titles, but there's some pretty cool names that are in here. So went back and looked at it and started to realize exactly who all in Cup Series history, or what we now call the Cup Series history, have had back-to-back titles. The very first ones, 1955-56, Carl Kiekhofer's Mercury Outboard team. Then you get Petty Enterprises with Lee Petty in 1958 and 59. Budmore Engineering, 1962 and 1963. As much as we have heard of, and the legends are, well-deserved, as much as we heard about the Holman Moody team, it took them until 1968 and 69 to win back-to-back titles. On into the 1970s, Petty Enterprises, this time around with the King, Richard Petty, did it again 71 and 72, and then repeated the feat in 1974 and 1975. Junior Johnson and Associates Racing pulled it off themselves, but they did the first ever three-peat, 1976, 77, 78. Johnson was also the next one, winning back-to-back again, 1981 and 1982. The first three-peat was Cale Yarborough. The back-to-backs, 81 and 82, were Darrell Waltrip. Richard Childress Racing, back-to-back with Dale Earnhardt, 86 and 87, repeating that with the same driver in 90 and 91, and again in 93 and 94. Hendrick Motorsports claimed 4 in a row. First we ever got that, from 1995 through 1998. 3 of those, 95, 97, and 98, were Jeff Gordon. 96 was Terry Labonte. Roush Fenway Keselowski, or what we now call Roush Fenway Keselowski, 2003, 2004. 2 different drivers, Matt Kenseth and Kurt Busch. Then Hendrick claims 5 in a row from 2006 to 2010. I'll give you 3 guesses as to who that was, and the first 2 don't count. Hendrick did it again in 2020 and 2021 with 2 separate drivers, specifically Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson, and now Team Penske has turned the trick. Again, Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney. Cool stuff. While Blaney takes the tour with the Cup Series championship trophy and basks in the glory of it, Las Vegas is already looking ahead to next year. The favorite, according to the odds at MGM, Book MGM, or Bet MGM, Kyle Larson. 5-1.
Not a surprise.
William Byron, 6-1.
Not a surprise.
The teammates and producer John's favorite driver, Martin Truex Jr., along with Denny Hamlin, listed at 8-1.
I would have expected their odds to be a little bit better than 8-1.
Martin Truex Jr.'s maybe. Sorry, Denny Hamlin. I don't have faith in you or the 11 team to finish the deal. Call it however you want. Put the bow on top of the present, put the cherry on top of the sundae, put the whipped cream on top of the shake. I don't care what it is. I think you're a fantastic driver, Denny. You're extremely talented. You get to the playoffs. Heck, sometimes you even get to the title race. But you just can't seem to finish it.
Needs to hire a closer.
Huh. Oh, I'm sorry. That guy just retired. He's going to the Fox Sports booth next year. Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell. Ryan Blaney and Christopher Bell listed at 10-1. Christopher Bell. At some point in time, Christopher Bell, I think, has to be able to be put into this conversation. And I think this year proved that that's the beginning of that.
If it was me, I would flip Bell and Truex.
You'd go Truex instead of Hamlin?
I'd go Truex 10-1 and Bell at 8-1.
Okay. All right. Interesting thought. 4 drivers listed at 14-1. Tyler Reddick, Kyle Busch, Ross Chastain, and Chase Elliott.
Those are too high.
All 4?
All 4 of them are way too high.
Okay. what would you think that their odds should be?
They should be closer. I'm going to say closer to 10 or 11.
10 or 11 to 1. Okay. Chris Buescher, Joey Logano, 18 to 1.
Logano, high, Buescher, close.
The problem that I got with Joey Logano's situation is next year is an even numbered year.
Yeah.
Joey Logano seems to do fantastic in even numbered years.
Yeah.
In odd numbered years,
He's garbage.
I mean, defending champion knocked out in the first round of the playoffs. But 2022, title contender. 2020, races for the title. 2018, wins the title. 2019, 2021, 2023, nope. Next year's 2024.
Yeah.
Brad Keselowski and Ty Gibbs at 22 to 1.
Close.
Now, these are odds to win the championship, correct?
Next year, yes.
You're way too early odds.
Yeah, exactly. Ty Gibbs has talent. I still think he's a little rough around the edges. Brad Keselowski might, if I'm looking at it, based upon what we saw from Chris Buescher and knowing that Brad Keselowski is effectively getting the same stuff, I might improve Brad Keselowski's chances.
I would improve his to about 18 to 1.
Yeah, I might put him on even level with his teammate Chris Buescher.
Yep.
John, you were saying something?
No comment.
Okay. 50 to 1 odds. Several drivers, actually. Bubba Wallace, Alex Bowman, Daniel Suarez, and I got to admit, a little surprised at this, incoming rookie Josh Berry.
All four way too high.
You would improve all of their odds, including the rookie?
I would improve Berry. I would say I would put Berry at probably 40.
Okay.
I go Berry probably 40, maybe 35.
Wow. Okay.
Suarez, I'd go about 30. Bowman, I would put him even with Gibbs at least at a minimum 22.
Yeah, I was thinking between 20 and 25 to 1. Somewhere in that
and
area.
as consistent as and y'all can roast me all you want to. I don't care. As consistent as he got from the summer on to the end of the year.
Oh my gosh, yeah, some switch flipped over there at the 23
I would
car.
have Wallace on even with Reddick or better.
Yeah. I mean, again, some switch flipped over there, and all of you detractors for Bubba Wallace, feel free to, complain about it all you want. But if you look at the results bear it out. They do. As for the other incoming rookies, Josh Berry's got the best odds. Next up is John Hunter Nemechek at 80 to 1.
Legacy Motor Club.
You think it's more the car than the driver?
More the car.
Okay. Carson Hocevar and Zane Smith, 150 to 1. Spire and
Hocevar, yeah. I'd probably go that.
Okay.
Zane Smith, I would probably put him even with Nemechek.
80 to 1. You think the car's that much better?
Because they're going to have that alliance with Trackhouse, and it's going to be a Trackhouse prepared car.
Okay. Your longest odds, 3 drivers. Harrison Burton, 21 car, Wood Brothers. That's a Team Penske car. Corey LaJoy, Spire Motorsports. Todd Gilliland, Front Row Motorsports, all sit at 500 to 1. 500 to 1. And again, these numbers are according to BetMGM. I'm a little surprised by the Harrison Burton number, only because of the alliance the Wood Brothers has with Team Penske, and we know how good those cars are. I haven't seen enough out of Harrison Burton to convince me that the numbers should be significantly better than 500 to 1, but 500 to 1 and tied for the longest odds is a little bit of a surprise to me.
Yeah, a little bit, but you're putting the person that finished all 36 races, that took the checkered flag in all 36 races with no DNFs, you're putting him at 500 to 1. No, I would put Corey LaJoy even or better than Hocevar.
And let's not discount the fact that what Spire Motorsports is doing over there, I think it will pay dividends. I mean, Corey LaJoie has already, in my mind, outperformed what we ever expected from Spire Motorsports.
Sure.
I mean, he came in and he gave legitimacy to what really was a backmarker team in the 77 car. And I think it finally convinced Spire, you know what, we need to go get a full-time driver in the 7, not only in the 7 car, but in the 77.
Mm-hmm.
And they're making moves now. And remember, he's going to be paired with, some drivers over there. Yes, they're youngsters. I get it. But these kids are hungry.
Very.
And these kids are good. A little rough around the edges, kind of like Ty Gibbs. I get it. But still, these kids are good. And they're only going to make that team better. And in some ways, this is addition by subtraction. Shuttling Ty Dillon out the door is only going to improve that 77 car. Because I'm sorry, I don't have faith in Ty Dillon to improve any car that he gets in. I really don't.
And with considering the extremely large name let it slip the other day where he's going, I'm a little disappointed in this team.
By all means, spit it out.
So Junior lets it slip on his podcast that Dillon is going to the 16 car. Why?
Best car that he's going to get?
I would say so, yes.
I mean, I understand that the Geico-sponsored team, who's
Jermaine,
thank you. I understand that they were getting their stuff from Richard Childress, but they were getting stuff from Richard Childress at a time when Richard Childress Racing was still kind of trying to find themselves again.
They were getting the hand-me-down Paul Menard cars.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't getting anything that was really going to put Ty Dillon out front. And Spire, again, they're starting to get it. But they hadn't gotten it yet by the time they put Ty Dillon in that car. Ty Dillon's not going to make that car significantly better. Corey LaJoie had taken the 7 car and turned that car into a much better car than what it was when he first got named to it.
Now,
Ty Dillon can't do that.
Now, when they changed crew chiefs and put Bono Mannion on the box of the 77 car, business did pick up. Did it pick up drastically? No.
No. And unfortunately, that's on the driver.
But business did pick up.
I think it's going to be better next year. You've got, I think, the kids that a veteran crew chief like a Bono Mannion can come in and he can say, hey, listen, I've been here. I know what you're doing. I'm seeing what you're doing. Here's where I would tweak this. Ty Dillon's not going to take that.
As I've always said, the race car will let you know how good the driver is, or it will let you know how bad the car is.
There you go. We got a picture. We got one more note that we're going to deal with when it comes to Cup Series racing here, and we got a picture to go along with it. The first of several pictures, thanks to producer John for getting them all prepared and ready to go. So we'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about Smoke. He was on hand in Phoenix to watch his Xfinity and Cup Series teams vying for either championships or competing in their final races, and he had stuff to say. We'll talk about it next on CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
Passion,
Fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Yeah, we are. Hey, you remember a team called 3F Racing? Yeah, you can be excused if you didn't. But FrontStretch.com is reporting that the German-based 3F team's still looking at getting into the NASCAR Cup Series. We talked about this team at the beginning of the year, and we actually showed you, I think, if not the picture that producer John is putting up on YouTube right now, courtesy of 3F Racing, by the way. It was a very similar picture. That's, by the way, a potential look at kind of what the car might look like. The number, everything, all that stuff is obviously still up for grabs. But they had plans to enter into several races for the 2023 season, thoughts that they were actually going to try and qualify for the Daytona 500, but things kind of, well, went awry quickly. They had visa issues. In other words, trying to get all of their employees from Germany into the United States, they couldn't do it in time. And in fact, that situation didn't get cleared up until May. So they decided not to try in 2023. But reports, like on FrontStretch.com, still say that they are eyeing the Cup Series, and the ownership group stated, quote, "Now all eyes are 2024. The goal is the same, working closely with Richard Childress Racing and Chevrolet, funding, Reed sponsorship. Still an issue, the team admits, but they're looking, they say, to try to qualify for anywhere from 8 to 10 races in 2024. I hope you got your visa issues settled.
Yeah, get your sponsorship stuff in line.
Yeah, and
we'll go from there.
Yeah, good luck. Hey, I hope you are able to at least attempt to make the qualification.
Yeah.
Who knows? We'll see what happens. Tony Stewart, as we noted before the break, was on hand in Phoenix. He was watching his Xfinity and his Cup Series competitors at Phoenix, and after Cole Custer claimed the 2023 Xfinity Series title, he got to speaking highly of him. Of course, you got to remember, this is less than a year, or right about a year, since Custer got busted out of Cup and moved back down to the Xfinity Series. Custer moved to Cup in 2020, claimed to win early in that season, but he went winless the rest of his way in the Cup Series before this season began, and again got moved back down to the Xfinity Series to the 00 Ford Mustang. Now, there's a couple of different ways to take this. There's no doubt in anybody's mind this is a demotion. Okay? Think what you will about the Xfinity Series and how good the racing is there. But it is not the top level of NASCAR stock car racing. That's the Cup Series. Mm-hmm. He was there. Loses the ride. You could let that get into your mind. You could let that affect your emotions. You could let that affect you 9 ways from Sunday. But instead, Cole Custer got to work. That team claimed 3 wins. He and his crew chief began to gel second half of the year. I think they actually changed crew chief midway through the year. No?
They kept the same one.
They changed something, and I can't remember what it was. But things began to gel really at the right time, and man, things got real good the last few races in the playoffs. And Tony Stewart got in there. He met with media after the championship race, and in a question and answer session told media, quote, "It was a calculated move to move him back, decision to move him back from Cup to Xfinity. And it was for him to gain confidence. His confidence has grown. The leadership side's coming into play as well. And I think it's a valid question that, yeah, when a driver makes it to the big show, Cup Series, and has to step back one series, there's a lot of things that could go wrong. But there was a reason we made that decision. It's about character building. And it's like I told him after he won on Saturday, this is why we did what we did. And this is what you're doing. The steps that you're making and the progress that you made this year is exactly what we were hoping for. All those things and more, Stewart noted, are what he's looking for in the 25-year-old Custer, saying, quote, he's doing the right things and he will end up in a Cup car at some point, I feel like, in the future. He's doing the work. He's been a great leader at the shop with these guys, and I have the utmost confidence that he will be back in a Cup car at some point. Now, we already know that that's not going to happen in 2024 because Custer and his Xfinity Series teammate, Riley Erbst, have already said, we're going to be back in the Xfinity Series in the 00 and the 98 respectively next year. We know that. And you're saying, well, what about the 10 car? It hasn't been officially announced. You're right, it hasn't been officially announced. But I'm sorry, all of those connections that keep pointing to Noah Gragson going into that car just keep being connected. Mm-hmm. We're just waiting for the official announcement, which probably has something to do with ink drying on the contract.
Pretty much.
I think Cole probably will end up back in a Cup Series car and probably at Stewart-Haas Racing at some point in time in the next, I'm just going to throw a number out, 2 to 3 years.
At least.
And I get this. I mean, you think about the players that Stewart-Haas Racing is bringing in. And let's see, we're going into 2024. It's not quite a decade ago. I want to say it was about 2015, 2016. When this show was at a different place and had a different title. If you want to find out more about that, producer John's done a great job. Go to crnradio.us. Got a history right there on the homepage. But anyway, I want to say it was about 2015, 2016. And had a person contact the show and ask the question, all these drivers seem like they're getting a little long in the tooth. When are we going to start seeing some youth? I mean, really, the only guy we had seen at that point in time was Joey Logano.
Yeah.
Here's the youth movement. Think about the 4 drivers that competed for the Cup Series title last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
The oldest driver in that group was Kyle Larson, and he's 31. The average age of the 4 drivers competing for the Cup Series title was 28.
Mm-hmm.
There's your youth movement. Stewart-Haas Racing alone is going through a youth movement of their own. Riley Erbst is younger than Cole Custer, and we just said Cole Custer's 25. So the Xfinity team is under 25 on average. I don't have the ages in front of me, but you think about the 4 drivers who are about to come in to Stewart-Haas Racing. You have your incumbent, or incumbents, I should say. Chase Briscoe, who now all of a sudden inherits the veteran of the team moniker. He's still in the 41. Ryan Preece is coming back to the Preece is in the 41. Chase Briscoe's in the 14. Those are your incumbents. They're coming back.
Josh Berry is 33.
Okay. He might actually be the oldest of the 4. Ryan Preece might be old.
Ryan Preece is 33.
Okay. So we're averaging 33 right now. I know Chase Briscoe's younger than that.
Chase Briscoe is 28.
Okay.
About to turn 29.
All right. And that will leave the presumptive inheritor of the 10 car, Noah Gragson.
Let's just say it's him.
Yeah. Again, presumptive. Real time radio. Like that?
Yeah. Noah Gragson is 25.
Okay. So 2 drivers at 33, a 28 and a 25-year-old. For all intents and purposes, that'll average out to, and I don't have the math in front of me, but I'll say it's right about 28. No disrespect to Eric Almirola.
That would be 29.
Okay, close enough.
0.75.
Well, of course. No disrespect to Kevin Harvick. No disrespect to Eric Almirola. Both of them 40 or above, I think. Eric Almirola is approaching it, certainly. There's your youth movement. It's on. It's happening. Ty Gibbs gets into the Cup Series barely past 18. Okay? I mean, your youth movement is here. The question becomes, though, are we more worried about the youth movement and getting younger, or are we more worried about the quality of the racer? And I got to give Smoke a lot of credit. He chose not to chase after a check. He sees something in Josh Berry and says that guy's deserving of a Cup Series ride. He's not chasing after a check. Now, it certainly won't hurt that if the presumptive inheritor of the 10 car, Noah Gragson, comes in with an already built-in relationship with Bass Pro Shops and Black Rifle Coffee Company, that doesn't hurt. But let's not forget, Tony Stewart already has a relationship with Bass Pro Shops. Think about the last couple of years he was in the 14 car. Who was one of his primary sponsors on the 14 car? Bass Pro Shops.
The average age of the Stewart Haas Racing pilots, all 6 of them,
Okay.
28.
See, 28 was in there somewhere. I had something going on.
Because Riley Diedrich Kern Herbst, according to Wikipedia, is 24.
Okay. Yeah, he and Cole are about the same age. And I'm not going to sit here and look at you through the camera on CRN Live on YouTube or tell you on the radio that Stewart Haas Racing doesn't have a potential problem coming up, because they kind of do. This is the problem that Joe Gibbs Racing was having not that long ago.
Top heavy.
Getting top heavy. How long are these drivers going to be in those Cup Series cars before you go, you know what, Cole Custer and or Riley Earps deserve the chance to move up? Now, Riley, I think, still has a little bit more work to do. But I think what we saw at the beginning of this year out of the 98 car and what we saw at the end of this year, including the win in Las Vegas, shows me that they're on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon the pun.
No pun,
Obviously,
yeah.
Cole Custer is on the right track. Again, pardon the pun. You win the title. You claim your first win in the playoffs amongst all of the playoff drivers when you weren't in there. And that tells me that things are going well at the Xfinity side of the garage at Stewart Haas Racing.
Who's to say we're not about to be staring down the barrel of the next Justin Allgaier, Ron Hornaday, Mike Skinner, Matt Crafton, people like that.
Yeah. All of these
that
racers
are happy where they're at.
Yeah, all of these racers who did have the opportunity and took it to go into the Cup Series at one point in time or another and decided, you know what, really not for me. I'm going to drop back down. Allgaier is much more comfortable in the Xfinity Series. Matt Crafton did work his way up for a short period of time, cup of coffee, really, in the Cup Series and said, you know what, not for me. Same with Ron Hornaday Jr. Same with Mike Skinner.
I mean, yeah, Matt Crafton drove Kyle Busch's car in the Daytona 500.
Yeah. And there are some guys that said, you know what, the Truck Series is perfect for me. I don't care about going up any higher.
Yeah.
Jack Sprague, come to mind.
Yeah, Jack Sprague.
Brad Keselowski's dad.
Bob.
Never really seemed to want to get out of the truck. He was perfectly happy in the truck.
Ted Musgrave.
Yeah. And it may be that situation where Riley and or Cole say, you know what? Nah, not worried about it. I tend to believe that they're probably going to want to have a chance, if you're Riley, to be able to drive the Cup car on a much more regular basis. He got some Cup Series starts this year.
Front row.
And I think Cole would like to get a bad taste out of his mouth over the past couple of years and try and have some sense of redemption. But who's to say they might not look at it at some point in time and go, you know what? Break the 00 back out of mothballs. I think I'd just rather go back there and do that. I'm successful at it, and I'm happy there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know when Kentucky's going to be back. So, I mean.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Silly season continues here, and this deals with another picture you're about to see up on CRN Live on YouTube. Alpha Prime Racing have announced they have signed Brennan Poole to compete full-time in the 44 Camaro in 2024. And Poole's been something of a journeyman NASCAR driver. He's racked up over 120 Xfinity Series starts. He has a pole, 9 top 5s, and 37 top 10 finishes in that time. Never a win, though. Did make the 2016-2017 playoff series as well. Finished 6th in the final standings of 2017. That picture right there is thanks to Alpha Prime Racing. That's what one of the two sponsors are going to look like. That's how the car is going to look. The other sponsor is down on the bottom of the quarter panel on the back.
Mac Door Systems.
Yep. Mac Door Systems and Finance Pro Plus. Finance Pro Plus, that look right there that you see on CRN Live on YouTube will be 20 of the 33 races. Mac Doors have the other 10. Here's the thing. Alpha Prime Racing reports they've got some 23 associate sponsors as well. So, yeah, I think you'll find a ability to put the other 3 races on in some way, shape, or form.
I have a feeling.
Somebody's going to step up.
Yeah, somebody will step up. But honestly, for 24, I had Rajah Caruth pegged in his car.
In the 44?
Because he's ran that car a lot.
Yeah.
So it tells me I've got a suspicion he's about to get an even bigger ride.
We're waiting on an announcement. As for Poole, the 2023 season just ended. He finished 24th in the final standings, running the year for JD Motorsports. He did have one top 5. It came at Talladega. He also ran some Cup races for Rick Ware Racing, but, well, other than the fact that he got in Cup Series starts, that's really about all. We may be onto this for a while. So, John, we're going to go ahead and take a break. We'll hit the cross flags here, hit the halfway point on this show. Talked about it last Friday night, championship race for the Craftsman Truck Series. It was a mess. And a whole lot of people got to talking about it afterward. We're going to do it too. Because we got some quotes for you. And we got our own ideas about it. And then we got some NASCAR news, some track news. And maybe another NASCAR series? Talk about it all next.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. only, fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
So last week on the show, we really didn't get into it as deep as we could have, but we did allude to the fact that, well, it was a mess. Talking about the Craftsman Truck Series title race.
That's an understatement.
The race went 29 laps past its scheduled number, needed 4 overtime starts to get it completed, and as we noted on the show, it easily could have been 5. It's just surprising that somebody up in the NASCAR tower who generally has a hair trigger when it comes to calling cautions actually didn't in this case. And there were a lot of eyes on this. A lot of Cup Series drivers were watching this, surprisingly, or not surprisingly, as the case may be. Among them, John's favorite driver, 2017 Cup Series champion Martin Truex Jr. Flatly on Saturday, he said this, quote, "I was not impressed. That is not professional auto racing. It's a joke. They need to fix it." And they, in this case, is NASCAR. And he wasn't the only one that said it. His Joe Gibbs Racing teammate Denny Hamlin echoed that, as did former Joe Gibbs Racing member Kyle Busch. Tony Stewart even talked about the fact that these guys are better than this. Now, the 4 overtimes is one thing. The potential for a 5th, I get it. You got a lot of drivers who are fighting for position. And knowing that you're in what potentially is your last shot in a 2-lap shootout. But what good does it do you? Or in this case, what good does it do us? I'll put the 3 of us in a truck. Each of us, not the same one. That'd be uncomfortable. And hard to race.
A little bit.
But what good does it do if on the restart, I'm in the row behind Matt and John, I feel like I got a faster truck, so I'm just going to say, you know what? I'm going to bump both of them, at least one of them, if not both of them, out of the way, potentially taking myself out in the process just to think I might be able to get ahead by 2 slots. Go back to what we were talking about during the race recap about an hour ago when we talked about Ryan Blaney, who is getting steamed at Ross Chastain for taking his driver's line away from him. And what did he do? He went and he hit the back bumper of the 1 car, which prompted the spotter in the 12, the crew chief on the 12, the owner of the 12, and NASCAR to all caution Ryan Blaney. Look at the bigger picture. You don't need to win this race. You don't need to beat Ross Chastain to win the title. You're the leader in the clubhouse right now for the title. Christopher Bell's no longer on the track, and William Byron and Kyle Larson are well behind you. Don't worry about the 1 car. Keep the 12 car intact. Don't screw up the car. But yet I'm sitting there in a row behind Matt and John thinking, I want to get 2 more spots. Let's play bumper cars. No. First thing you got to be able to do to win a race is finish the race. Mm-hmm. What good does it do me if I can't finish the race?
None.
I'm certainly behind John and Matt at that point in time, aren't I? Mm-hmm. But we've seen this out of this series. These guys love to beat and bang. That's one of the attractions to this race. So where is the line? I mean, we can honestly say, yeah, probably they went over that line. 4 restarts with really potentially you could have had a 5th does seem a bit excessive.
Well, 4 restarts where they didn't even get out of turn 2 on the first lap of the restart.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the key phrase there. On the first lap of the restart.
Yeah, that's a mess.
That's beyond a mess.
Yeah.
But one person started it and changed the whole outcome of the race and the outcome of the championship.
Mm.
We all know who he is.
Well, let's talk about that, shall we? That situation, obviously, Carson Hocevar, set to be a Cup Series driver next year, gets into Corey Heim, who was at that point in time running out front for the championship. And we talked about this on the show last week. Carson Hocevar has a camera in the truck trained on him. And under caution, he's apologizing. He's saying, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't want to do that. That's not what I meant to do. And you can tell he's visibly upset. He's pounding on the steering wheel and everything. Well, Truex didn't buy it. Truex flat out stated, quote, I think it's an act. I think he's just acting out to try to make people feel sorry for him. Denny Hamlin, who remember has the podcast through Dirty Mo Media, Actions Detrimental, we'll get back to that one, didn't outright call out any driver, but he did call out NASCAR. Hamlin said that NASCAR needs to temper this bumper car action and penalize drivers who obviously take another driver out, but Hamlin doesn't think that's going to happen. Hamlin said, quote, we're never going to get there. I don't think NASCAR is ever going to make that change. My opinion of it, it's not even a short-term gain anymore. Sure, get some people on social media talking, but we're getting more viewers because of this chaos we've created. Truex added this, quote, the level of respect has been going down and down and down in the lower series for years. You now see it in trucks. Where are you going to see it next? Xfinity Series race at Martinsville last weekend? Complete disaster. I don't know. It's kind of embarrassing for the sport, I think. Overreaction on the part of Truex and or Hamlin?
Hamlin, no.
Okay.
Because he didn't call anybody out directly.
Okay.
He was making a general statement, and his general statement was spot on, in my opinion.
All right.
But both Truex, dear Martin, take the stone out of your hand and stop throwing it at the glass house. Because you have done the same level of complaining from behind the 5-point harness and the visor. Somebody, he needs to start racing me that way, or this, that. There's radio chatter. I've heard it. You can't say that there's not. Stop throwing the stones at the glass houses.
Well, speaking of that, Kyle Busch said a couple of words, too. His own Kyle Busch Motorsports entering their last race as an operation in Phoenix. He said he chose not to watch that race. He chose to go to his dinner with his family instead during the race time, and he added this, quote, I mean, there's no respect whatsoever. Everybody runs over everybody, tears up equipment. So, yeah, I'm glad I'm not an owner of it, but honestly, I'm still a driver of it, so I'll still have to deal with it. I'm sorry, wasn't it Kyle Busch who got sat down for an entire weekend because of the actions that he did in retribution in a Truck Series race some years ago?
Yep.
Okay. Just double checking on that.
Yep.
You know, and I'll say this too. Yeah, I'm a fan. Said it many, many times. I've been a Tony Stewart fan since his rookie year. To think that Tony's not guilty of some rough driving would be me pulling wool over my own eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Tony's played bumper cars before as well. Maliciously. I'm not talking about, a bump and run at a Bristol without spinning him out. I'm talking about, he's gone in and he has rammed into other cars.
Mm-hmm.
Every single driver in NASCAR has, if they've had the opportunity and the fast enough car to do it. Yeah, it was a mess. There's no doubt about it. There's stuff that needs to be cleaned up over there.
Mm-hmm.
But I do tend to agree with you in this. Be careful what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Because as a driver, you've done it too. Mm-hmm. If you want to start complaining, look at the person in the mirror first and see whether or not you should complain about yourself. Now, as far as that incident that we were just talking about when it came to Corey Heim and Carson Hocevar, first of all, Carson Hocevar admitted, me spinning Corey Heim out, my fault. I didn't mean to do it. We even talked about it afterward in the fact that he said, I thought he was going to take a different arc in the corner. I misjudged my own speed. It's my fault. I took the 11 truck out. I get it. Then there's the picture that you're about to see on CRN Live on YouTube, courtesy of NBC Sports.
Mm-hmm.
That's the moment right there that we get to talk about retribution. Producer John over there. Hello, producer John.
Wake up.
There you are. Looking for a picture, my friend. Looking for a picture. The shot that you're going to take a look at is when Corey Haim got into Carson Hocevar.
I'm on medication. What do you want?
I got you. That contact right there put the Chevrolet of Carson Hocevar, the Nice Motorsports, into the wall. And it created enough damage to where really Carson Hocevar was done. Okay. And Corey Haim was technically done too. He was out of the ability to really compete for the championship. Although the funny thing was both of them were actually kind of starting to work their way back up through the field. Carson Hocevar especially. Because you got to remember, on the restart, right after he had hit and spun out Corey Haim, Carson Hocevar was still so upset and so out of his element that he fell from second on the restart all the way back to 18th. He was slowly starting to work his way back up when he and Corey Haim started to race each other. Corey Haim came up with some, and I'm just going to call it for what it is, some Bravo Sierra excuse that I had a problem with the car. Really? You had a problem with your truck right when Carson Hocevar's truck was beside you? But yet you didn't have that problem until Carson Hocevar's truck came up beside you. And you were able to continue on in the race, and that problem didn't crop up again? No.
Hey, Corey, you just don't lose side force that easy on a flat racetrack. Side force, better known as side bite. Mm-hmm. You don't lose it that easy on a racetrack that is flat when you see a blue truck coming up behind you and your spotter's telling you 42's coming high. Oh, I just lost side bite. No.
NASCAR ruled this week that he now owes them $12,500, and they docked him 25 championship points. That drops him in the final standings officially from third to fourth place behind Hocevar. NASCAR cited the rule book, specifically Section 4.4, B and D subsections, regarding member conduct. They claimed that in reviewing the talk on the 11 teams radio that Matt just talked about, that they attempted to manipulate the outcome of the race and or championship, wrecked or spun another vehicle, causing that entry to be removed from the competition, and performing an action that was deemed to compromise the safety of an event or pose a dangerous risk to a competitor, official, spectator, or someone else. Those are the words of the rule book. Yup. Seems to fit. Sorry. You get what you came for. Tricon Garage reports they have re-signed Tanner Gray for 2024. He's going to continue to pilot the number 15 Toyota Tundra truck. Gray's set to go into his fifth season in the series. This season, the team switched from Ford to Toyota for 2023 before it began, and he seemed to benefit. 3 top 5, 6 top 10 finishes, along with his first career pole that came at Charlotte back in the spring, and he finished 14th in the final 2023 standings. Some people have been asking about his brother, Taylor Gray. All signs seem to be leaning towards him coming back as well and them remaining teammates at Tricon Garage. But again, kind of like the 10 car in the Cup Series, nothing official has been said. So all of this is, at this point in time, everything seems to be pointing to it, but there's nothing official. What we do know is official is that Colby Howard is a free agent. Howard talked to FrontStretch.com this week, said he has officially left CR7 Motorsports effective immediately. He was the full-time driver of the number 9 Chevy Silverado for 2023. Best finish of 4th, but that happened back in the season opener at Daytona. Howard told the site, quote, "We're working on some options." They, CR7, are working on some options. Got some great guys around me. Hopefully we can get ourselves a good partnership for 2024. Good luck, Colby. Because I get it, silly season continues well on, and in some cases, well into January. But most of the good seats are taken. Good luck.
I'm pretty sure that 9 truck will probably have Grant Enfinger in the seat next year.
Yeah, Grant keeps saying that it's all done, and I'm just not at a point right now where I'm ready to tell you what all the situation is.
He's drove quite a few ARCA races for CR7.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure it'll be Grant at 9 truck next year.
And no disrespect to Colby, but Grant in the truck is an upgrade.
Yep.
You may or may not have noticed this, but we gave our listeners and viewers a little bit of a head start on it when last week we noted that Chevrolet had swept all the manufacturer titles in the NASCAR situation, the Top Series, Craftsman Truck Series, Xfinity Cup Series. The thing about it is, you may not have realized this. You go back to the end of the regular season in each of those divisions. Think about the 3 drivers who won the regular season title in Cup, Xfinity, and Truck. They were all in Toyotas. Chevrolet then turns around, wins the season manufacturer title in Truck, Xfinity, and Cup. But wait, there's more. Think about the 3 division champions. Ben Rhodes, Cole Custer, Ryan Blaney. They all drive Ford. So your regular season title winners are all in Toyotas. Your manufacturer's title winner, Chevrolet, and all 3 division champions are Ford drivers. So all 3 of the NASCAR original equipment manufacturers get some big news from this season. Ford probably going to crow the loudest because, let's face it, we pay more attention to the championship driver than anything else, but still.
Yeah, I would take a driver's title over an owner's title all day.
Yeah, there you go. NBC Sports. We talked about this a little bit last week in the State of the Sport address, and you had Steve O'Donnell, Steve Phelps. They were talking about the fact that the overall viewership for 2023 was down in the low single-digit area, their words, not mine, from 2022 to 2023. NBC, on the other hand, is reporting the overall viewership of NASCAR, Cup, and Xfinity competition on them and the USA, their affiliated cable company, was actually up slightly. And when you include the Peacock Digital streaming service and NBC Sports Digital, they show their total viewership from 2022 at 2.45 million. The average viewership in 2023 up 2.47 million. So what's the difference there? What happened between Fox and Fox Sports 1?
Good question. I saw a graphic I'm trying to find. I saw it on social media where it was broken down to which race fell where viewership wise, and it was not just NASCAR but F1 and IndyCar all together.
Yeah, and I will say this too, especially at the first really half of the year, Fox Sports' half of the year, there were a lot of Cup Series races that were delayed from Sunday to Monday because of what? Mother Nature.
Bingo, here it is. Got it.
And we all know this. If you're able to run the race on Sunday, you got better viewership than if you try and run the race on Monday. It's just truth. Whether you like it or not, it's truth. Now, NASCAR has to do it to be able to stay on schedule. I get it. But if you get rained out, you get rained out. And the viewership's not going to be as good on Monday as it is on Sunday. It's just the way that it is. We'll talk more about this. We'll also talk about a track that's undergoing a bit of a renovation. And again, a potential new series within NASCAR. Yeah, we're going to tee off on that one in a little bit too. But we got to take this break first. Thank you for checking us out. Happy Veterans Day right here from all of us at CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back.
Hi.
tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
So we're talking a little television viewing. NBC Sports talking about how their half of the NASCAR season for Xfinity and Cup ticked up a little bit in viewership. NBC also reports their most watched race of the season, Cup Series-wise, the inaugural race on the streets of Chicago, which brought in 4.79 million people. That's second only on the season to the Daytona 500, which airs on Fox. Season finale on Phoenix last Sunday, they say measured in at 3.03 million viewers. NBC Sports dug in a little bit deeper as well. Noted that 3 of the Cup Series races that they moved over to their cable partner on USA, Atlanta, New Hampshire, Richmond, reached the most watched sporting event of that day, regardless of channel. 3 other Cup Series races that also were moved to USA, Pocono, Watkins Glen, and Darlington, rated as the top-rated sporting events on those days amongst all cable outlets. And on top of that, they broke down which television markets were the most popular for NBC and NASCAR. Now, no surprise, the top 3 are deep in NASCAR's base territory. Charlotte, North Carolina. It's led by Charlotte, but tied with Greensboro, North Carolina. Just a tick under them, Greenville, South Carolina. Knoxville, Tennessee is at 4. Our home area of Birmingham, Alabama is 5. The rest of the top 10 might have a couple of shocks to you. Now, Indianapolis being a racing mecca that it is, granted, we think Indycar more than NASCAR, but still, being the racing mecca that it is, it being 6, okay. Dayton, Ohio was number 7. Now, why Dayton? Well, who's the official tire provider for NASCAR?
That would be Goodyear.
Where's Goodyear based?
Dayton.
Thank you. This one, I think, is probably going to be the biggest shock of all. Buffalo, New York. I wouldn't have seen that coming.
Well, at least we know we're not jumping through tables during a Cup race.
But that being said, Buffalo is a hotbed of short track and dirt racing. Where do most of these guys come from?
Short track and dirt racing.
Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina, Norfolk, Virginia, and Richmond, Virginia fell out the top 10. You had some other notations on this. Now, obviously, again, most watched race, Cup Series, Daytona 500. Happens that way every year.
There is a graphic I found on social media that was put together by someone, and it's extremely accurate.
Okay.
Of 188 auto races that were on television coverage from January to mid-November 2023 of this year.
Okay. And this covers really, literally every single series that we cover, which is NASCAR's top 3 series.
And then some.
NHRA, SRX, Superstar Racing Experience, IndyCar, Formula One, and Formula E. Mm-hmm. Plus, there are others. I mean, they'll go and they get more in-depth into this by adding in IMSA and so on.
And, of course, as he stated, at $8.173 million, the Daytona 500 for Fox.
Okay.
Indy 500 was $4.716 million.
Okay.
NBC's top Cup race was, of course, Chicago. $4.62 million. Talladega came in 4th at $4.554 million.
That's the spring race?
That would be the spring race.
Spring race,
Fox.
okay.
I'll just give it to you this way. Out of the top 15, out of the top 15 NASCAR races, Cup races, 1, 2, 3, only 4 were on NBC.
So somewhere down the line, and again, I think it's because of rain, that's where Fox stumbled. Because when you have to shove it from Sunday to Monday, and therefore you're putting it over on the cable channel as well, and we've always said you putting it on cable is going to be less than keeping it on the main network.
Your top...
That's going to hurt.
Yeah. The top USA Network covered race. Pocono.
That's a little bit of a surprise.
Your top FS1 race was Darlington.
Not really surprised by that.
At 19th.
Okay.
Your top see here. Your top Xfinity race was Daytona Spring.
Also not surprised by that. Season opener.
The top F1 race coming in below the Xfinity race was Miami.
Which aired on ABC.
Your top NHRA race, Reading, 1.504 million.
That aired on Fox. And here's the thing. I'm not impressed by the Miami number for F1, with all due respect. I am impressed by the NHRA number because Formula One's out there sitting there touting how popular they're becoming here in the United States. And yes, they are. But that number, when you're on ABC in a race in the United States,
Should have been considerably higher.
should have been considerably higher. Where overall in the 188 races did that fall?
39.
There are 38 races that are more popular than what your race was. You want to know what one of your biggest problems is? The fact that you don't have somebody that the American fan base can really, really root for. And part of that is Haas F1's problem. Because Haas F1, yes, they're an American-owned, American-based, quote-unquote, team. They don't have an American driver.
No.
And at that point in time, Logan Sargent really wasn't making any noise as the lone American-born driver in Formula One. He's not really making a whole lot of noise now. The American public didn't have a whole lot to root for. There's that Andretti Cadillac entry sitting there looming real, real large over your shoulder. Don't sit there and talk about how popular you're becoming. There's always room for improvement, like 38 more slots on a television rating ranking.
Your top Monday race for Cup was Michigan. Your top truck race was Bristol Dirt.
A little surprising.
It beat Daytona by 30,000.
Okay.
Your top IMSA race was Rolex 24 Finish at 986,000.
Okay. That seems to fit about right. Yeah.
The top ARCA race was Daytona at 846,000.
Okay.
Your top SRX race was Lucas Oil in Wheatland, Missouri. And that is going to be it. But to touch on the F1 thing he's talking about, out of the 188, here's how they rank. And this is even throwing in the Ricciardo cast of the Canadian Grand Prix.
Okay.
39, 44, 45. 44 and 45. Would you think Saudi Arabia outperformed Monaco?
Oh, hello.
Canada, Bahrain. Oh, okay. 39, 44, 45, 48, 50, 54, 55, 56.
I'll give them consistency. They're all in that same kind of area.
63, 65, 70, 71, 72, 79, 85, 94, 96, 104, 131, 145, 187, and sitting at 96, Coda.
Yeah. 187. That would be Japan.
187 would be the Ricciardo cast.
Oh, okay. So what's
Japan 145?
just for the argument, just for the sake of argument, this is 188. That's the second to last. What was the lowest rated?
The lowest rated one was the Sebring finish to IMSA at 100,000 even.
Okay. Let's do some better news, shall we? And show you some pictures here. NASCAR set to return to the iconic North Wilkesboro Speedway in 2024 for All-Star Event Weekend, plus for the Cup Series and a Craftsman Truck Series race, which will be a points race. It's going to look a little bit different. We're going to show you some pictures that'll kind of give you an idea, because on Tuesday, the expected repave got underway. The track was the same as when the track had been shuttered some 3 decades ago, other than the fact that, well, it was 3 decades of aging on the old surface. And really, other than Kyle Larson, the drivers said that, yeah, it's got personality, but we just really couldn't get a handle on it. We thank NASCAR.com for the looks that you're seeing on CRN Live on YouTube. The track is owned by SMI, and their process was to bring in a crew that milled the top 2 inches of pavement down and then went through. They checked the base level. They made repairs there as needed and then started putting new asphalt down. I mean, look right this picture right here, if you're on CRN Live on YouTube, that's after the milling. That's stuff that they've got to do right there. That's on the low groove of the track right there. That's a lot of repair work that you got to do before you lay down the new asphalt.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's something to deal with when it comes to the new asphalt. You put the new asphalt down. They said they put it along in there with a sealer, but otherwise they haven't changed the track. They've kept the banking and all the other details of the 6/10 mile short track intact. But they did this too. They used the same kind of asphalt mixture that they laid down at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Now, why is this important? Remember that the drivers all were saying they loved the personality that Atlanta had before they did the repave. And in some cases, Talladega not included, Daytona not included, it takes away some of the personality when you do a repave because you make it glass smooth and traction goes up and blah, blah, blah. Well, they used a special mixture that actually, they say, creates a worn-in surface quicker. So in other words, it brings the personality of the track back, but it's still new enough asphalt to where the track stays intact for a while, for a lot longer. The technology when it comes to being able to do cement and or asphalt is just unreal these days, and it's only getting better. I can't wait to see this in action.
I am too.
And then to compare it over the next couple of years and see what the drivers say as they go along about its aging, so to speak. I think it'd be really cool. It's that time again for NASCAR fans to choose the National Motorsports Press Association's most popular driver award winners for the top 3 series of stock car racing. This award season is presented by Hooters Restaurants, which kind of fits considering that the winner in the Cup Series the past 5 years is Hooters as a sponsor on his car, and that's Chase Elliott. If there is a year where Chase Elliott is not going to win the NMPA's most popular driver award, this would be it. Because he was not in the playoffs. He wasn't a factor in any of the playoff races for all intents and purposes. And he missed
7
races. Initially I was thinking 6. He missed 7 races earlier on this year. Here's the opening. If it's going to happen, it'll be this year. Voting opened up on Tuesday. It's going to go through Thursday, November 29th at noon Eastern. The awards will be announced and presented Friday, November the 30th. What happens Friday, November the 30th? Oh, that's right. The NASCAR season-ending awards ceremony. If you'd like to vote, go to NASCAR.com/most popular driver or check the NASCAR mobile app or your smartphone or tablet. And to be transparent, we here at the Championship Racing Network, specifically Matt and myself, and we're thinking about bringing producer John in on it as well, officially are members of the NMPA. And one more note here. This wasn't initially on the rundown, but Matt came across this picture, shared it to producer John last night. And we've talked about the fact that we started a decade ago covering the Formula E series as, well, a curiosity. Not really certain it was ever going to take off. And I really wasn't certain that it was going to take off when I watched the inaugural race, which at that point in time was on Fox Sports 1. Because I had to laugh when they started showing the actual race coverage, and they had a music bed that played throughout the entirety of the race. That's not a good start. As it is right now, if you're familiar with the game of basketball, watching a Formula E race, while the action can actually be quite good, the sound lacks a little bit. It sounds a lot like, well, a basketball practice. It sounds like a bunch of tires squeaking on a gym, or sneakers squeaking on a gym floor, is, truth be told, what it sounds like. I mean, I'm just being honest. Sorry, Formula E. Again, the on-track action is actually quite good. The sound leaves a lot to be desired. John, go ahead and throw that up on CRN Live on YouTube. Now, we can make a lot of comments, and we have, behind the scenes, about the color of that car. But we're not allowed to put that on the radio, so we're not gonna. Let's just say that it's not a flattering color. NASCAR is continuing to go further and further into the idea of creating yet another high-level stock car, I use those terms very loosely with air bunnies. High-level stock car racing series. Effectively, I think John put it very, very well. NASCAR E. This will not, let me be very clear, clearer than any president of the United States has ever been in 46 presidents, who all have said at some point in time during their tenure in the White House or whatever place that they were, George Washington. Let me be clear. How many times have we heard politicians, presidents specifically, or the presidential administration say, let me be clear? And then they turn around and they're as clear as, well, the color of the NASCAR electric car. I'm going to be very clear on this. This will not replace the Cup Series. NASCAR has said this is not intended to replace any current NASCAR sanctioned series. Cup, Xfinity, Trucks, ARCA, ARCA West, ARCA East, Whelen Modified Tour, NASCAR Euro Series, NASCAR Mexico Series, NASCAR Pinty's Series, whatever series has NASCAR on the front of it, this will not replace that series. This is a separate series that they are talking about bringing about. I'll let you take it from here, Matt.
What is this?
Just to be honest.
I mean, this is a leaked picture that somebody leaked from the R&D center, and I'm anxious to see, figure out who leaked it and who's going to
get in trouble for it.
Yeah, who's going to have some serious ramifications from it. I cannot for the life of me understand and fathom what this is. This is flashbacks of COT with that hideous wing on the back of it.
That wing is horrible. Jeez.
This is not a true E series. This is more of a crossover hybrid series. What it looks like to me.
Yeah, because part of me wants to say that's the Ford Mach-E.
That's what it looks like to me, the Ford Mach-E.
But the back end doesn't really look like it. I'll say that now.
Toyota.
The front end kind of does. The back end doesn't. This could be Toyota's little Corolla kind of look.
I don't know.
I don't know what that is. What I do know is that, well, it's kind of ugly.
All I gotta say is,
and that wing's horrible.
What this car looks like, even with color. And I'll leave it at that before we can take our break here. Not picture. Just all I'm gonna say is this resembles a very hideous 24-hour bug. That's it.
Okay, I'm with you on that. Got a lot of work to do, NASCAR. A lot of work on that. When we come back, I know we're down to our final segment here. We'll try and get as much NHRA, IndyCar, and Formula One in as we can. But yeah, there's been a lot to comment on, hasn't there? Thank you very much for joining us. We'll talk a little about the event happening today at Talladega as well when we come back right here on CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Talking a little straight line action here in a moment. Do want to remind you there was supposed to be a Track Laps for Charity event going on at Talladega today, and you think to yourself, if you're looking at the sky, well, that's done. No, actually, it's not. It's still going to go on today because there's other activities there, including Big Bill's Garage that's open, plus some other things that are happening. Now, as far as you being able to take your car out onto the track, you can in a modified way. You're only going to be able to go around the apron of the track because it's just too wet for them to allow you to take it up on the 33-degree banking. But there's also an option for you. You can go in, you can buy your ticket now, hold on to that ticket, and next year, because there's going to be at least 4 Track Laps for Charities events that'll happen in 2024, which hopefully will have better weather, you can then redeem your ticket and get your car up onto the banks then, and still all that money will go to great causes because all of this is going, again, for charity. Really cool stuff. Started about 9 a.m., so about 45, 48, 50 minutes ago. What time is it? 9:48. As I'm looking at the clock as we are airing live in the central time zone in the United States. So, yeah, it started 48 minutes ago, goes on until about 1 o'clock this afternoon. To the NHRA, who has partnered with GovX on a multi-year deal that's going to begin next season, both sides highlighting and honoring those who serve the country and their local communities. Very appropriate considering that this today is Veterans Day. GovX offers exclusive discounts to current and former military, along with first responders and law enforcement. Part of this deal will include discounted tickets to NHRA events for those who are mentioned. GovX, not that old, formed back in 2011, works with over 1,000 companies to give discounted deals to these groups, raised over $1 million for nonprofit agencies that help out veterans, first responders, law enforcement, and their families. If you want to find out more information, go to govx.com. Very, very cool. 2024 NHRA, and this is going to take some getting used to. It is, as of this weekend, the last event under the Camping World Drag Racing Series banner. For 2024, it becomes the Mission Foods Drag Racing Series. And the schedule is finalized, but in case you missed it, take another look. There were 2 weekends on there that were officially listed as TBD, to be discussed, to be announced, TBA, whatever you want to call it. One of those has been filled, specifically the weekend of June 21st through 23rd. That's the 9th weekend of the 21 weekends on the schedule for next year. And for those who can't look it up right now, I'm going to tell you right now, it got filled by Virginia Motorsports Park. That marks a return of the Richmond area facility to the schedule after they didn't go there during the season that will end this weekend. They were on it in 2022, but not for 2023. All 4 Mission Foods divisions, Top Fuel, Funny Car, Pro Stock Motorcycle, going to be in action that weekend. And it does leave one more open slot. The date's scheduled. The location has yet to be determined. We'll let you know when it is. While the NHRA looks for another location to race, they're opening up a fan vote of their own. We just talked about the NASCAR Most Popular Driver Award is now up for voting. Now voters can determine the NHRA's first ever National Dragster Magazine All-Star Team. It's a new initiative from the official magazine of the NHRA. Starting on Monday, 2 days from now as we air live, fans can go to NHRA.com and vote for your top drivers in not the 4 preeminent categories that we mentioned before. We're talking top alcohol, we're talking sportsman, pro modified, factory stock, pro tuner, best social media, best race car builder, best track of the year, best new talent, in addition to their own most popular driver award that is known as the fan favorite. In addition to those fan-voted awards, the select panel of NASCAR Dragster Magazine staffers, along with select other drag racing experts, will be choosing the 2023 NHRA Person of the Year. All winners will be announced during next month's annual PRI show in Indianapolis, which I haven't had the chance to go to it, but I've seen pictures. Looks like a really cool event.
I see flames taking over most of those.
Huh?
Smoke.
Oh, I see where you're going. And yeah, you might be right. We'll see.
I'll publicly ban myself from going to PRI because I could get in a lot of trouble up there.
Kid in a candy store.
That's a grown man's Toys R Us.
Yeah, I got you. For one bit of IndyCar news here, kind of sad news if you're also a gamer that was looking forward to the official IndyCar video game. Motorsport Games has released a statement announcing, quote, the suspension of the development of our previously planned IndyCar game to decrease operating expenses whilst also removing projects that are underperforming or are unlikely to generate revenue, unquote. Wow. Motorsport Games released the statement on Tuesday of this week, a day after their third quarter earnings call, where shareholders noted the loss of millions of dollars, necessitating the need to halt progress on any new games and any other, quote, additional cost-saving measures, including the recent closure of our Australian development studio and corresponding global headcount reductions. In other words, layoffs. This is actually blow number 2 to the idea of an IndyCar-based video game for consoles and PCs. Motorsport Games previously announced that the ongoing financial issues that they had just referred to were going to be causing the debut to be pushed back from the planned 2023 release to 2024. Well, with now them stopping development on it, the ball is in Penske Entertainment's court since they own the series. And I use the word court potentially literally because they may have to go to court to get back the gaming rights and try and find a new partner to get the game out. Penske Entertainment did release a statement of their own that said, quote, significant working collaboration has gone into the development of our title with Motorsport Games. We're disappointed they do not have the resources to continue development. We'll announce our next steps in due course. Motorsport Games has announced a reluctance to let those gaming rights go, mainly because they've already lost one big one. The NASCAR license went to iRacing, in case you forgot. We talked about that a few weeks ago here on the show.
Which seemed to be a really good thing for those of us who enjoy playing.
Mm-hmm. They also lost the rights to a game dealing with the British Touring Car Championship. They confirmed on Monday after the earnings call that gaming rights deal has been canceled due to, quote, ongoing fundamental breaches of the agreement by the company. And they're going to look for a new partner as well. I would expect Penske Entertainment to follow suit pretty quickly.
And file suit, too.
Maybe. We'll see. To Formula One, where safety for the fans, right out the window. Last Sunday in Brazil, went right through a gate, apparently. Fans were able to gain access to the track after the checkered flag, but before all the cars got parked. They were still on the track, along with the fans. Oops. Well, that creates a potential safety disaster that luckily didn't happen. Race stewards noted the large group of fans coming out of the stands into the runoff area near Turn 1. They talked to race organizers after the race about it. The Sao Paulo F1 organization released a statement saying that they, quote, candidly admitted the failures in terms of the security protocols and safety measures. Well, that's the least you could do. And SFP1 stated in mitigation that they would conduct a thorough investigation and take steps to remediate in time for the next event in Brazil. Well, you got a year. Figure it out. Mm-hmm. F1 officials, meantime, have referred this to the FIA's World Motorsport Council for a, quote, further investigation to determine whether any additional steps need to be taken or penalties applied beyond the remediation plan, unquote. Wow. Okay. All of this comes in the aftermath of them extending the deal to keep the race in Sao Paulo through 2030. So are you going to cancel the contract? Guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Probably not. In chronological order, on Monday, we learned that Haas F1 placed a right of review request to Formula One officials about the United States Grand Prix. The U.S. team asked for a further review of the actions of Williams driver Alex Albon, who Haas F1 stated left the track without a justifiable reason multiple times in Turn 6 during the race, but no action was taken by the race stewards when they initially brought it to race stewards' attention. Race stewards said immediately after the race, quote, based upon video footage available, which did not include closed-circuit television, the stewards determined whilst, who's writing these things, there might be some indication for possible track limit infringements in Turn 6, the evidence at hand is not sufficient to accurately and consistently conclude that any breaches occurred. That's what the stewards' document said at the time. So, a two-part hearing was set to commence on Wednesday. The first part was to hear the evidence as to whether or not there is a, quote, significant and relevant new element which was unavailable to the party seeking the review at the time of the decision concerned. Wow, these people writing these things are British, aren't they? Well, okay, first of all, why is this important? Why are we even talking about this? Well, here's the deal. If you looked at the finishing order, Haas F1 driver Nico Hülkenberg finished 11th. And that was after the disqualifications of Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. So, in other words, to break it down, points. That's why. Also, while Williams and driver Alex Albon were said to be Haas F1's biggest culprit, Haas F1 officials said, "You're not the only one." They also called out the Williams teammate, Logan Sargent. They called out Red Bull driver Sergio Perez, Checo, and they even called out Aston Martin's Lance Stroll. So, throwing this Hail Mary on Monday, it landed on Wednesday. But the question would be, did it really land? Well, predictably, no, it didn't. As most appeals in motorsports appear to be a futile exercise these days, set for a select few items. Race stewards who made the initial call that none of the drivers accused of racing outside the allowed parameters had done so right after the race said, yeah, we got the ruling right the first time. This time they put a lengthy statement about that we're not going to quote, but broken down basically said that Haas F1 brought nothing new and relevant that would lead them to change things. But then they turned around and also admitted that there's a problem. What? They noted they have no proper way to enforce track limits at Turn 6 at Circuit of the Americas. Quote, whether the problem is properly addressed by better technology solutions, track modifications, or a combination thereof, or a different regulation and enforcement standard, the stewards leave to those better positioned to make such assessments. So in other words, you realize that there's a problem, and when you're called out on it, you say that there's not a problem. Do you see the problem?
But then they admit there's a problem?
Uh-huh.
But don't fix the problem.
Haas F1 submitted onboard video of all 4 of the cars that they accused of going outside the track limits of actually going off the track limits on several occasions through Turn 6. Notably, both Williams, the Perez Red Bull car, and the Lance Stroll Aston Martin car. The accused teams argued that those videos had been available all along, so nothing new was submitted, and race stewards agreed and turned the appeal down. So in other words, yeah, we did wrong, but, well, you already said that we didn't do enough wrong, so let us go. And they got let go. Stupid. We got a couple of other things, but you know what? We can deal with this next weekend because it is not, well, I will say this. There is a new F1 commissioner. What the heck does that mean? We'll detail it all next week. Enjoy the racing, as limited as it is. NHRA tomorrow afternoon. Y'all have a great weekend. Happy Veterans Day from all of us at CRN.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
WDNG 1450 AM
And W236 CQ 95.1 FM. And a